I don't know. I don't know where my hat is, and I mean, you know how bald I am. I got a receding hairline. I'm balded on the top. It's pretty rough. And on the eighth
Yeah.
day, God made hats. You know.
And on the 8th day, on the 9th day, I bought one.
Hmm. Well, hey,
Hey,
cheers,
who just
brother.
jumped on the line? Welcome to the live. So anyway, we wanted to get together and talk a little bit about this, right? Saddle setup, what the ultimate setup looks like, how long it took until we got situated to where we're in a spot where we kind of like what we've got going on. Maybe a little bit about some specific gear that'll help you out while you're out there, some of the stuff you need, some of the stuff you may not need, what's necessary. Lineman's belt. We do the one stick, so we're climbing trees with that. Man, what else we got? We do a single stick, right? Say something, Alfred. You're being quiet.
Yeah, dude. We got a ton of gear. Um, I I would just like to point out I'm a master at improvising because my single stick gets left 2 miles into the woods just about every other week during the season. And
So
then,
you either make another one or
yeah, I either make
do
another
something
one
else.
or I just wing it. You know, I'll take the other sticks I have, and I'll just go 15 feet up a tree or whatever I can get. You know,
Whatever it
it's
takes, you
it's
know.
just kind of silly. It gets silly real quick.
Well, I guess maybe we'll start there then. If you're going to saddle hunt, what you're going to need to do is choose a way, choose a method. It doesn't matter what that method is; it's going to be different for everybody. But how are you getting up a tree? Um, you and I, we've tried sticks. I was a climber for a long time. I used a Summit Viper, but now I've migrated to, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. What is this, Alfred?
That's a single stick, buddy, and it's a hawk
Yeah, but
helium stick.
that's a hawk helium. And
Yep.
the amount of hate that I see on the forums about the hawk helium, I don't know why. Um, but
I
let's
mean,
take a look at it. All right, this is how I pack it. Ears fold up. That's what I love about it because then I can stuff it inside the pouch of a bag. Um, and as we're taking a look at it, I've got my aider, which is an Eastern Woods Outdoors multi-aider. The thing's a beast. It's got tubing in it. It's adjustable. It's
why
made
don't
out of 1 inch webbing.
why don't you
So
unwrap it
that
so
pulls.
people can see what they're talking about?
Yeah, as I pull this thing apart, we'll take a look.
Because I think a lot of people don't know what an aider is unless they're into saddle hunting. You know,
Right.
it's
So
not a
when I
very
get to
common
the
thing.
woods, it's wrapped up like that. And then what I do, I just throw it in a bag. It's not making my life any easier right now. But anyway, what they do is they run right through the bottom on your tabs, right? So I can fold this up, wrap that, packs real nice. Now with this stick, I did have to do a lot of modification. This hole wasn't as big as what it is, and it wasn't smooth in there. So I've dremeled that out and made that so it doesn't wear at all on that strap, right? This was a, what were they, 33 inches, 32 inches. We've cut this down to about 15.7 inches. We left it mostly the same, mostly stock, except for the new holes we drilled on the bottom. And I wanted my offset, like I didn't really want any offset down here. I wanted it right on the bottom. Uh, we left it pretty much stock after that. And then right about center, right, a little less than center, we go with our cam cleat. That cam cleat, the way that works is the rope slides inside here. I really can't get a good view there. But anyway, that rope's able to go around the tree, come right back into the cam cleat, and then it won't come out. And these things are rated for like 350 pounds or 320 pounds. What I'll do when I'm climbing the tree is I'll just wrap that rope right in there. And all this is a piece of am steel. Um, you can buy those off Eastern Woods Outdoors too. This thing's about 60 inches long. And I don't have it tied off. I just have it, it's girth hitched right around there and it stays right where it's at. And works pretty fantastic that way. The other thing we do is we do a gear tie on the top. Again, when I'm climbing the tree so that I can reach back down, once I've got this thing around the tree, I just hook that knot that's in there just like that. So then I can grab this knot, right? I have my rope while I'm climbing the tree. I grab a hold onto my gear tie. I give it a yank, which frees it. And then I can pull this, basically at that point, all I got to do is just tag on that rope a little bit and it pulls right out of there. So that's the method to our madness with the single sticks. Alfred is set up pretty much the same way. He's got a little bit of a more redneck gator. It's one that we built, and it suits him. It's a little harder on the feet when you're going up through there. You get a little bit more foot pressure right in the center. This one has, I don't know what's in there. It's some sort of tubing. I imagine it's a real heavy duty fuel line or some sort of hose in there. But that right there, I think, is the ultimate way to climb a tree. This thing weighs about 2.5 pounds set up the way it is. You're going to get into all kinds of weight issues, carrying 3-4 sticks. This is the other, ordinary climbing ropes, just based on that. It's got a super high ability to withstand heat. So it seems to hold up on the rappelling quite a bit better than some of the other ropes I've used. When you're girth hitching this on the tree, it's going to show some wear on either end. It doesn't matter. Just the bark's going to be rough on it. So probably every 2 years, 3 years possibly, you're going to have to replace a rope. But what we do, we get some good gear and we beat the crap out of it. This right here, I'm going to take it off just to show everybody, but this is the Mad Rock Lifeguard. Where's the safeguard? It's the lifeguard, isn't it?
No, it is the safeguard.
It is the safeguard.
Do not get
You
the
can see it right
lifeguard.
there.
The lifeguard does not work for this application, and I want to put another disclaimer in there too, Tony. Just
Yeah,
because the RescTech is like what 8.9 millimeter, and the Mad Rock is only rated for what is it 9 millimeter and above or whatever the case is. So I want to put that warning out there just so people don't think we're telling them to climb outside of the parameters of the equipment. We do it, we inherit that risk when we do it, but we're not encouraging anybody else to do that. I don't want to take responsibility for someone falling out of a tree because that one in a million instance happened. Tony.
you still with me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, for whatever reason, our audio went to garbage.
I I don't know. I could hear you the entire time, no issues. But to
It's
stay on
totally
topic,
on your end.
you think it's on my end?
Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hey, take your mic out. I don't know what's going on, but there's terrible audio.
All right. I feel like I'm on a Sprint commercial. Can you hear me now? Or a Verizon?
It's terrible.
Why is that so bad? Ugh. All right, is this any better?
Yeah, it still sounds super echoey.
Super echoey. Difficulties, like always.
That's better.
Is that a lot better?
Yeah, but I'm still getting a super echo. Like, try putting your earbud back in.
Is that better?
That is, yeah.
All right. Well, I can hear you fine.
Yeah, use a bigger rope. Uh, but for me, I've never had any problems with this, and I can get into a lot of things that I do to back up all my stuff as we get through the conversation. I always have a backup on. Um, Anytime I'm over about 10 feet, I put the backup on. So all I'm doing there is using a carabiner. Here, I can even show you. I use a carabiner with a cross stick, right? So all I got to do is run that through the line. Run that bad boy through the line 3 times. And I hook that into my belt just like that, below the safeguard. That way there's no way you can fall out of the tree. But yeah, that covers that. If you're going to get into it, make sure you're reading what you got to read. Make sure you're doing your own research on the ropes, the type of equipment that you're using. Pay close attention to the ratings on all your carabiners. It's all on there. This one is 25 Newton meters. That's with the lock closed and screwed tight. So let's talk saddle a little bit, right? I think that's what everybody wants to see.
Yeah. What's the best
As I
saddle
drop
out
over.
there?
I think that's a tough question to answer. I think everybody's going to have their own. I spent the money and I bought a Latitude. And the big part for me is the 2-panel process, right? So there's some, everybody's seen them online, but there's some magnets in there and this separates. So this basically almost goes under your butt. It's almost like sitting in a swing instead of having just the whole saddle underneath you. And then you have the upper part as that added back, I guess, back support. And that for me, it's so much more comfortable for me. I don't get any of the hip pinch. I don't have any other issues that some of the guys talk about. What I really like about this one is it's buckle free. This is actually the belt. And as you can see here, it comes straight from them with an Amsteel braided bridge. Man, I had my thoughts about Amsteel bridges and whether they're going to deal well with heat. There's just no way for me to put any heat in here. What I'm not going to do is allow this thing to come loose on the prusik. And then if it does, it's only got, what is that, 16 inches until we get to a knot anyway. It's not gonna cause enough friction there to burn through that Amsteel. Again, a lot of this stuff, you're going to read forums where guys will say, hey, don't do this, don't do that. Everybody out there is going to say, hey, don't climb a tree in a tree stand either because it's dangerous, right? Everything we do is inherently dangerous. You've got to use your best judgment. You've got to pay attention. Last 6 or 7 years, and Alfred's only been at it 2 years. So quite a bit of experience there. On the saddle, we got 2 dump pouches. Again, doesn't matter which ones you use. I've got the Latitudes on here, and you can see I've been hard on this. I've got a big tear there where I need to replace that one. But anyway, if I stand up and I put this thing on, your legs, basically, if you end up upside down in the tree, there's a whole gin there. You don't want to be in that spot. And your bridge fits right in front of you. You got your lineman loops on each side right here. That's where your lineman belt will clip in. That's where I keep my back up. And then, man, if we go back to the safeguard, what I like to do is hold this in my hand. I put this part down and I put it right in the palm of my hand. That way I know I'm always putting it on the line right. So when I open it up, I know I just got to run the rope in like that and it's right. And you close that thing up, you take your carabiner and you run that through. And the way I like to run that is with a little bit of tape.
They call it. It's basically to pull the
Anyway,
rope out
it's
of the
out
tree,
there.
though. Yeah.
Yep. And I use that. Like Alfred, you still use the 550 cord?
I do, yeah.
See, the 550 cord to me, it's got too much flex in it. So when I go to pull it down out of the loop, it just doesn't come down free enough for me. Like there's too much stretch in that. So I use that cord because there's zero stretch in it. It's made out of Dyneema.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's the Dynaglide or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah, the Dynaglide throw ball rope.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I have this issue where I just leave stuff all over the woods because I drop it in the dark and never pick it up again. So 550 cord's nice because I got a whole spool of it here. I just cut off an extra 50-foot piece and I'm good to go. But I mean, this is all everything we talk about is pretty much preference. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of saddle hunting is you can kind of adapt it to whatever your need is.
And that's the part where the 2-panel saddle comes in nice because that's the part that's underneath you. And then this part is up here underneath my back. So when I'm leaning back, I don't have all that pressure there. And I like it. I like it like that. The setup's great.
You're just swinging
Anyway,
around in the tree.
what's that?
I said you're just swinging around in the tree.
Now swinging around in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, once you get up in a tree, you're going to need something to put your feet on. So that's where the platform comes in. Again, this is the Latitude. This is the X-Wing. We did a review on this a couple days ago. It's got to be one of my favorites. Comes in at 40 ounces. It's a spectacular piece of kit, but it's super expensive. This thing will run you $299. Feet will sit right here most of the time. This part goes towards the tree. Strap goes around the tree. It's just a regular cam buckle, so it pulls tight real nice. And then you lock that thing into place by using the pressure of your weight, pushing it down, hinging against the tree. And there's I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a little nut here that you can either screw in or screw out, which allows you to set the angle of this platform. That's what this one they have you.
Expensive. I think it's a good point to put out that if you're looking to get into saddle hunting, you're probably spending more than you would on a good climber. Like it's just gonna happen. I don't think there's any way around it. Your gear is gonna wear down faster than if you're just using a climber. Uh, the benefit to it is if you're a public land hunter like us, that you're going to be able to get in pretty much any tree that's out there in the woods. Doesn't matter how big or how small it is, you're going to be able to get up in it. So, and I think you and I realize that that one tree over makes a difference when it comes time to kill a buck, or when it just comes time to
Yeah,
kill a deer in general.
I'm 100% with you. Just these two pieces of equipment here, this is going to cost you $100. We're
Yeah,
89.99 and 12, $14 for a carabiner. And we already
yeah.
said this is $299, so now you're already at $400. So you get a stick put together with an altimeter. If you already own the stick, yeah, and you're cutting it down, yeah, you can save yourself some money there because you already have it, but you're destroying something that you'll never be able to sell or reuse for any other purposes. But a climbing stick's going to cost you 100, $150 to get set up. The altimeter's another $45. The saddles are what, 250. This rope is $2 a foot. It's 50 feet long.
I think that's probably just not the best idea. Get yourself a new rope. Get yourself new carabiners. They're cheap anyway.
Well,
You
and I
know,
think the downside of the saddle groups, right? They want to sell you a lot of guys. They just want to sell their whole kit because they're like, no, it ain't for me. I want to get into something else. They may have used it for a season or 2 seasons, and they want to try to get wiggle room there is on price. But I see some of the prices of the kits. It's just astronomical, and you're talking about used gear, like used ropes, used platforms. And it kind of bugs me because everybody thinks that when they buy something, they're going to sell it for the same price they bought it for. Um,
well, I mean, to that point though, I got a tethered Phantom for 150 bucks that was used for one season, and I mean that's a good deal for that saddle. You know what I mean? Just be smart about
Yeah.
what you're buying and, look into it, do your research. If you can find a whole setup that's been used for one season, I would rock that rope any day of the week. Inspect it, make sure there's nothing sketchy about it, but I most people don't hunt as hard as we do is the reality of it.
Well, you in there that I run off of the HYS strap or the HIS strap from Tethered. I think this is the only piece of tethered gear I have, but I really like it because it works well. So once I get this wrapped around the tree, you can see, man, look, we beat the crap out of our gear. Once I
I
get
hate
that
that thing.
wrapped around the tree, you hate it.
I hate that
Ooh.
the his strap. I hate it.
But anyway, that's what I use. I like it because it's got a ton of loops on it, and all I have to do is hang my bag on it. So I've got a carabiner on the top of my bag. I clip it into one of these. I'm ready to go. And then some gear maybe you don't need, and I'll suggest this to anybody that wants to listen. But I run a pretty fancy bino harness, right? And I run some they're decent binos too. Uh, or when I put it back down, if I had it just on 550 cord, it would dangle off of something. It would bump into this at an inopportune time. And over the years, I think that experience has kind of led me to where I'm at now, where I put everything in my bino harness, got my bag hanging on the tree. And then after I'm ready with all that stuff, then I worry about camera gear, right? I'll get an arrow knocked. Once the bow's hung up, I'll get the release clicked onto the string, and then I go into camera gear. So let me grab one of those little piggies. I'm kind of rudimentary, but I'm still running a fourth arrow. This is one of their super lightweight ones. Uh, I think this thing weighs like 2.25 pounds, 2.5 pounds, something like that. But this thing kind of rotates up. And you can pull this out, just like the straps for the platforms. I have this set up with a cam buckle sort of strap on one side, and then a ratchet strap on the other side. It's fully adjustable, and then my fluid head screws right on the top. I'm using the fluid head here on the camera. It's one I bought on Amazon. It's a newer GM24. It's pretty sweet. The fourth arrows they come with one, but it's plastic. It makes a lot of squeaking noise. It's flimsy. Um, so I went out. I've upgraded with a newer GM24. I think on Amazon they're like 59.99. It's a pretty good fluid head. It's got a great arm on it. It's what I've been using for fishing. It doesn't make any noise. The adjustments on it are fabulous, and that thing screws right on there. I clip my camera right into the mount, and I'm good to go. The only other piece of gear I use an HME knee strap, right? Some guys want to use knee pads, whatever. I don't think it's a required piece of kit, but this thing lives right in the back of my backpack. It's about an inch wide. It doesn't take up any space. It's great for, when you're in the woods anyway. You want to sit down somewhere, take a rest. You don't want to sit on wet ground. You put this on the ground, use that. Um, it's virtually weightless. And I just have an old cam buckle strap and like 4 feet of 1 inch nylon on there so I can wrap it around even the biggest trees. And I put that right at knee level and jam my knees into the tree when I'm sitting on the platform. And it's super comfy. I mean, I fall asleep all the time. Right, Alfred?
Yeah, sometimes costing other people a buck.
Yeah. And then one of the last things that I have in my kit is backstrap. All that is a glorified shoulder strap, I guess is what I would call it, right? But this kind of goes over you like this. And then again, that carabiner that you have in front of you when you're on the rope, it just clicks right into the carabiner. And then you can ride it up nice and high, and then you can kind of sit back in the saddle. fully adjustable to whatever length you need. If you got a deer coming in and you don't want it in the way, all you have to do is just loosen this up and it'll fall down off your back. It's out of the way for the shot. Uh, Turn down the audio. We can still hear you.
Turn down for what?
Turn down for what? Don't do it. Life is good. Anyway, so the back strap's what keeps me comfortable. I love that thing. I'll be out in the woods. Alfred and I'll be hanging in a tree, and I'll be falling asleep, snoozing while he's over there looking for deer. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I would argue that having some sort of support for your knees is not optional. You absolutely need something. Knee pads, your knee pad that goes around the tree. Like whatever the case is, you need something because you're not going to sit there, especially if you're doing an all day hunt. You're not going to sit there on your feet all day. It's just not going to
What's up,
happen. And
Shad?
when you want to get comfortable, that knee pad is absolutely critical. So, I mean, I
Listen,
hardly ever.
you're gonna have some old bird that he'll sit here and tell you he'll fight with you over this, and he'll be like, "Yeah, I'm a leaner, and I stand all day from the time I get in the tree at 5:45 until I leave at 6 p.m."
Well, that's what some people do, I guess, but they're wrong. I
No, they
mean,
don't do
it's a
that.
lot
They
more.
don't do that.
It's a lot more comfortable to just sit in this ads. These are from like Harbor Freight, I think they were like $2, so they slip in. I have a couple pairs of them, just like I have a couple pairs of the pants. They slip in. You can take them out for when you're walking and stuff. It's super comfortable. And then when I get up in the tree, I just slip them in, and there I am. So, but either way, it doesn't matter what you use. You need something. Like I just think you need something. You can't sit out there all day and not have something going on.
Yeah, I would
So,
agree with you totally there.
gloves are absolutely critical when it comes time to climb a tree. I have these cool little gloves which we pick up at the PX. I've got 3 or 4 pairs of them, and they're all over my hunting room and everywhere else. So if you're climbing a tree, especially, well, I mean, you have to rappel at some point, right? Like you got to get down out of the tree. That it opens up the opportunity to burn yourself when that rope is running through your hands. So definitely keep the gloves on, protect yourself. I'm a big safety guy. I mean, I know you've seen me. Like I climb decently slow compared to you. You're up the tree in about 10 minutes. It takes me about 15 minutes, and that's probably an exaggeration. But I mean, just so people understand, like you're twice as fast as climbing as me. But everything I do is very methodical, and I'm not saying what you do isn't. We have what works for us, and I think
There's
staying inside of your comfort zone is a huge portion of what we're doing because it's inherently risky.
it took me years, probably 3 years, to get to that comfort level where I just buzz up a tree like that. And again, I'm not cutting any corners. I just know where my gear has to be and when it has to be there to make it efficient. Like I think a lot of times when guys are taking a slower time up the tree, it's because they're not only are they being more methodical and trying to be as safe as possible, but they're pausing every once in a while to take a breath too, and just kind of like if you're climbing in a climber, you can burn some calories getting up a tree. Same
Mhm.
with this. It's no different. This is probably easier to climb than say a climber, but it's not as
With
fast, right?
practice.
I know some guys, yeah, with practice.
It takes a little bit. The first 10 times you go out, you are not going to be comfortable. You're going to feel super weird being up 30 feet in a tree. You probably won't even go 30 feet in a tree your first 10 climbs. You know what I mean? You're going to go 15 to 20 feet and you're going to feel super uncomfortable. It's going to be weird. And then one day you're just going to be dangling 45 feet in the air and you're like, wow, this is kind of cool.
You know, Shive just says, "Hey, man, I don't need to do all that kind of work in the morning." Um, I,
So,
I don't either. I almost never hunt mornings. Almost never. Um, I just don't do it.
we
Unless
have
it's
some
right.
other
I will in
methods.
rifle season, but
We have some other
I will
methods
in
we're going to
rifle season,
implement
but
this year.
I haven't had a rifle hunt in a while, so I'm good.
Hmm.
It's been 6 years, 7 years since I've not killed a buck with the bow.
I mean, we go
So
out during rifle. I mean, last year and this year, you took deer during rifle season with the bow, full orange, baby.
yeah, in a
So
saddle in
that's
the evening.
yep.
You know,
Well, you and I talk about a lot of stuff. Like I feel like once you've done it for a little bit, you can start getting into like theoretical stuff that you think is going to work, and then you start trying new things. And I think having some preset 550 cord or whatever the case is, I think is going to benefit us a lot this morning or this season for morning sits. So I'm kind of excited to try some stuff out, but at the same time, you and I are just firm believers that morning sits are just not nearly as effective as evening sits. The statistics that we have seen kind of back up that conclusion, and it's just one of those things. So at the same time, though, I'd still like to be able to go out and smoke some deer in the mornings. So I work on
if
that
you
as a hunter, and
have
I challenge myself to do that.
if you have some ag fields located around some open timber, and then a mile from there you've got some real thick bedding area, you can probably hunt that spot a little bit more realistically in the morning. But most of where we hunt is clear cuts, the edges of clear cuts, steep ridges, oak timber, a lot of structure, a lot of edges, and there's no like we see deer all day long, every day, from sun up to sundown. Every time I go in the woods before it gets light out, I'm looking at eyes 10 or 12 yards away from me, and I spook more deer going in the dark because I can't see them. I mean, I don't know how many times I've gone in the evening and I'm working my way down into a spot and I've got to sit down and I literally sit for 2 hours while I'm watching deer feeding at the tree that I want to go sit in. Then they move off. I go get in a tree, and an hour later or 2 hours later, they come right back in there and they feed some more. But they're not bedding far from that feeding spot. They're only bedding 100 yards from there, 200 yards from there. And that's what makes it real challenging. If you're going to go in the morning, I, I just spook too many deer doing it. You know, if I had some
I
ag
think one of
fields and I had 1,500 acres on a farm, I mean, it would be a different story. But
I think one of my favorite stories is when we're going down to Maryland. This is last year. I haven't killed a buck. I don't know if I was on doe number two or doe number three at that point. So I'd killed a couple deer, and we're going in. It's a very wet morning. We have the lights on like super dim. We get into like where I want to sit. We look up and there's like 20 eyes within 30 yards of us. And I look over to you and I whisper, I'm like, Tony, what do we do? And you're just like, get up in a tree. And that was kind of one of the moments where it hit me. I'm like, yeah, morning sits kind of suck because we had all of these deer. We busted our humps to get down to Maryland at 5:30 in the morning. And you didn't want to do it. You're like, dude, there's no point. We're gonna spook deer out of there. And I'm like, no, we're gonna do it.
your
You
audio's
know,
coming in real broken. Stand up and move around. Your audio's coming in real broken.
I don't know if this is gonna be any better.
That's way better. I don't know why it's so weird over there.
Interesting. Um,
Like you're
but
sitting in a
anyway,
dead spot over there.
going down into Maryland, we have deer everywhere, and we end up getting up the tree. How much of that did you hear?
And this year, this was the year
That
prior,
was
huh?
that
It's
was
two
my
years
first year
ago.
hunting. I hadn't killed a buck yet.
Yeah, 2 years ago. So we're kind of all tagged out. I think it was actually January or super late December after Christmas. We headed down to Maryland, a rainy, foggy morning, and we had a very specific spot we wanted to go into, and we thought we had it kind of hammered tight. And we get in there, we're walking down a small trail, and we got deer all around us. And all we wanted to do was kind of veer off to the left and jump up in a big tree and set up together. He's still trying to kill a deer with a bow down in Maryland. What? But anyway, be quiet.
Yeah, why is that on your wall?
Here.
Why is that on your wall?
Please.
Why is that on your wall?
Here. Anyway, and please. Anyway, we jump on this tree, and I'm halfway up the tree, and I'm shining a light down. I'm looking down with the headlamp, and Alfred's trying to tell me there's deer right beside him, and I can see the deer right beside him. It's like 8 or 9 feet from him as we're climbing up this tree. But either way, he makes the statement like, what do we do? Well, you just go get in a tree because there's nothing else you can do about it. Those deer might be spooked, but the rest of them that were going to come through were not spooked. And, an hour after daylight, we had a really nice buck. About the time I started to fall asleep, we had a nice 8-point come down, probably about 40 yards away. And Alfred's like, yo, hey, listen, there's a buck there. I'm like, well, just don't wake me up. Just shoot it. And it didn't work out because when I shuffled to look, it saw us and took off. So, real interesting story about morning hunts. That's why I hate them. I hate them.
Yeah.
I think you're froze, Alfie.
Am I frozen?
No, you're good. No, you're good.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much summed it up. Like it kind of sucks trying to get down there. Like the only reason I hunt mornings is because we drive an hour and 45 minutes to get to Maryland, and I don't want to waste the drive. That's the only reason I do it. In Pennsylvania, I don't think we hunted hardly any mornings. I don't know if I hunted one morning in Pennsylvania this year. Opening morning, that's it.
Well, I'll always hunt opening morning because I'm going to go sit in a tree and whack a deer. That's the first thing we're going to do.
Exactly, but I
And if
think
you got it
other
done
than
early in
that,
the morning, then you can go back out in the evening.
exactly, and then your buddy Alfred can have a bad shot on a deer. You can look him in the eyes
Yep.
and say, "I think you're going to have a bad night." And no, that's not what you said. You said, "I think you're going to learn a hard lesson tonight," and we certainly did.
I was just looking at the evidence. Evidence is important.
Bow hunting is full of ups and downs.
Yeah, it sure is.
But anyway, saddle hunting. If you're not into it, maybe try it. See if you have somebody who has some gear. Hit us up. We'll take you out. I have got extra gear. You've got extra gear. We'll make a video. We'll have you on camera, and we'll just do it. I love that stuff. You can see Alfred fast rope out of the tree with a beer in his hand, being a complete idiot, but it's a good time.
You did that the other day.
Mm-hmm. That would have been not so good. This is one of my hunting arrows, my designated hunting arrows for the. So I think that's something.
The one you want.
Yep, you want the safeguard, not the lifeguard. I think that's pretty critical to put out there too. You don't need that. You can climb with 2 tethers. You can get away with it. It's not ideal. You can do it. I did it for a season, and then use your rappel rope just to get down from the tree. So, I mean, it's not ideal. Looking back on it, I like having a way to get to the ground while I'm in the tree. There's been a number of instances out there where people climb a tree and there happens to be a hornet's nest up at the top of it, and you want to be able to get down quickly. So not having to switch over to a figure 8 and a rappel rope is pretty critical. I don't know. You have any safety stuff to add? I like the safety stuff because I'm not trying to get anybody hurt. This is dangerous business.
I think you've just got to practice, right? Like once you get all your gear together, you don't want to be out again first morning of the season trying to climb a tree for the first time. There's a couple people I know that have wanted to, tried to, are into whatever phase of saddle hunting they're in, because
I've kind of just lost touch with them because if they're not going to just do it, then I'm not going to waste any more time on it, right? But I've shown them how to do it safe. Um, they just don't practice enough. Like I will probably be in a tree 12, 15 times over the summer. And then that last month before the season starts, like we were just up in a tree the other day, messing around. But that
Yep.
last month, if I'm going to go scouting, I'm going to go somewhere and I'm going to climb a tree. I'm going to get my gear straight and I'm going to feel comfortable. The only thing I'm not going to take with me is the bow. I'll take all the camera gear and the whole setup. Like all of my camera gear, the extra batteries, all my gear weighs 28 pounds. And then you throw the bow on top of it. So, I mean, I can get out there and hike around a little bit with that kind of weight on my back. If I need to, I can shed 7 or 8 pounds from that list real quick. But we're talking about a full water load out, snacks, hand warmers, front tube, binos, all that stuff. 28 pounds.
Yeah, I think those mock sits, that's what I'm gonna call them here. Those mock sits, preseason, you have all your gear without the bow are super important, especially if you haven't been around deer a whole lot. Maybe it's your first year getting into hunting. Maybe you've been hunting for a while and you just don't see a lot of deer. Get out in the woods, keep moving till you find deer, and even if you do, just kind of getting ready for the season. That way, when the time comes, you can make it count.
Again, your audio's going to poop.
Mm, fantastic.
Yeah, and the other safety thing is when you're out there and you're doing those pre-scouting or preseason hangs, go 8 feet in a tree. Go 10 feet in a tree. That way, if something happens, it's not catastrophic until you get familiar with your gear. You're going to climb a tree someday and you're going to forget to twist this. And I hope you're all right. I hope you're paying attention. You're going to go climbing a tree and you're going to have this in front of you and you're going to lose footing on your or on your platform, and you're going to reach up and you know what you're going to do? It's going to be on your rope